Olaf Brinkmann is the managing director of the agency 368, and today he's going to try to answer an interesting question. Advertising, does the consumer really care? I'm sure you've got your own view as far as that is concerned. Welcome to you, Olaf.
Thank you.
Why are you raising this issue in the first place?
I think that a lot has to do with the way that people are engaging these days in how they want information. And there was a time when the information that they were watching, TV programs, news, things that they were reading, were interesting enough that the ads ended up being also interesting within that space. But with this instantaneous way that we live now, which is I want to know the news now, or I want to get the information now, does the consumer care about the advertising? Because invariably it will be coming at the expense of them getting to that information. So it almost becomes in the way.
I accept that to a certain point, but surely if the advertising is good and compelling, the viewer will always want to stay with it. What you're also perhaps subtexting for us here is that maybe advertising itself has got worse.
Ooh, okay, that's an interesting. We'll get to that one in a minute. Let's do the first one.
Nicely
first.
deflected, yes.
Well, in front of the industry, you've got to be careful. I think that my view around the advertising has to be interesting, unequivocally. But again, what is interesting today and the framework within which we could make it interesting, both for the consumer as well as for agencies and clients, I think the world has changed significantly. Where yes, there are some big ads, and there's a couple now that have broken recently, big, glorious, glamorous ads. Let's take the Usain Bolt Telkom ad as an example. That's
great, big and epic. Yeah.
Exactly. But those epic days are really gone. Now it's about what is my ROI? And within that, then the accountants start becoming involved with less marketing people. And then the CFO starts saying, right, where is the ROI on this? And then creativity sometimes has to go out the window for more efficacy, if you like. That then might make the advertising not as interesting as it used to be, on the one hand, and therefore the engagement that the consumer has, and then do they really care, that then might fall out the go out the window.
Great advertising can still be made on a tight budget, though.
True, but then it also goes back to the experience within the industry. If the industry has sufficient experience, it will allow the test, the risk of agencies to go and come up with some really clever stuff with a limited budget. But I think those days are also long gone. I mean, everything's become instantaneous. The digital stuff, everything that we're doing nowadays. We were talking earlier on about news, and it's the now thing. And within that instantaneousness of it all, we need a campaign, we need something that needs to break, but it needs to break soon.
So how do I engage with that argument, and a compelling argument it is, as a brand or brand steward? How should I be recalibrating my thinking in that respect?
I think patience. I think I think if it's one thing that everybody in life in general, and it applies to advertising increasingly, we don't have the patience anymore to put time into decent research if required, decent strategization if you like, and also enough time for creatives to develop all-encompassing holistic work.
But we don't have that time anymore, because the more time you spend researching what you need to do, your competitor is going to eat your lunch.
Exactly.
So how do you still create quality in a time-compressed environment?
Try and have the patience, and most probably understand that we're in a risk business. I need you to guarantee that the 10 million I'm going to spend is going to deliver me 100 million in sales. That's almost a question that is almost expected to be answered nowadays. And the risk of, I'll do the 10 million and let's do something great and let it deliver those results with my sales team.
Let me just, as we come to the end of this, let me just take this in a slightly different direction, if we can. You make the very relevant point that content is king. Again, we accept that. But you also make the other important issue here is that context is the ace. Unpack that for me quickly.
I'll give you, and I'm going to work off two quick examples.
Yeah.
One, I follow a football team. So,
and I name it if you want. It's fine.
No, it's fine. Well, it's fine. I mean, I follow a football team. I'm very proud to do it. But because I tweet about it occasionally, it was quite interesting that about 3 months ago, suddenly on my timeline, I started getting ads for a game, being football manager, but it said, be the football manager of, this is the club that I support.
Yes.
Now that is advertising in context. So I wanted to read it because it said you could manage, and I'm going, why me? Then I realized, of course, I tweet about this. That had been picked up on. That particular advertising then, call it content advertising, was in context. So it was something that I wanted to look at, and then it's something that I could decide on, but they spoke to me. The second part of it is around content and context. We became very heavily involved with this Operation Hydrate. There were a bunch of guys, of which Yusuf Abramji was the most visible part, but there was an immense team behind it. And they started running this Operation Hydrate and collecting water and money. We did all the creative behind that for them as a pro bono thing, and we're very happy to support them. But that initiative wasn't driven by a news-led story. It was a civil society. It then got momentum because there were so many people engaging across social platforms and on the street and everywhere else in the workplace. It was a system where the news media were able to then to follow that story, and the story then was driven by them, not so much the other way around.
So 2 big lessons here: exercise a little patience, and the other thing is critical, that context in any form of content advertising is absolutely important. Olaf Brinkmann from 368, thank you very much indeed for the insight.
Thank you for the privilege.